At 3:47 p.m. on March 27, 2020, the garage door thuds closed, a dusty cardboard box tumbles onto the concrete, and the camera snags a flash on a sealed 1999 first edition Charizard. A solitary bidder on an auction site punches in $220,000 as the opening offer. The figure climbs, the screen flickers, and the hammer comes down at $260,000. What on earth turns a piece of cardboard into more cash than a used sedan? Outside, the world is eerily quiet. Streets sit empty, coffee shops stay shuttered, and millions are stuck at home, scrolling through feeds drenched in nostalgia. All of a sudden, that childhood deck of Pokémon cards stops being just a memory, it becomes a lifeline. Within weeks, a wave of "I'm selling my old cards" posts erupts across Reddit, Facebook Marketplace, and eBay. Demand spikes faster than a Charizard's fire breath, and the supply just a trickle. Investors, some old hands, some fresh-faced, catch the scent of gold. Hedge funds, crypto enthusiasts, and even a handful of celebrity collectors start buying en masse, treating the market like a high-stakes poker game. One VC firm even announced a $5 million seed round to build a digital vault for rare cards. But the frenzy isn't merely about bragging rights. The stakes are brutal. One mispriced lot can wipe out a portfolio overnight. A rookie trader in Austin blew $40,000 after a batch of ungraded cards didn't fetch the expected premium. Meanwhile, seasoned dealers whisper about bubble burst scenarios that could erase weeks of gains in a heartbeat. The pandemic's lockdown turned a hobby into a high-octane investment arena, and everyone's watching, waiting to see who rides the wave and who gets swept under it. Why did a cardboard monster become the hottest asset on the planet? I've been following the collectibles boom since the early 2010s, watching the market swing like a Pokémon battle. The surge in sales and the frenzy over sealed packs were first chronicled by Den of Geek, which highlighted the record-shattering auction headlines that sparked investor interest. Source: Geek.com. Later analysis from the Daily Economy showed how lockdown-induced nostalgia drove the demand curve through the roof. Source: The Daily Economy.org. The Los Angeles Times reported that investors poured unprecedented cash into the market, treating cards like miniature blue-chip stocks. Source: LaTimes.com. Even Suffolk County officials saw a spike in local auctions, with sales jumping dramatically in the spring of 2020. Source: Suffolk. Stay tuned, because the next chapter of this story explains how the hype spiraled into a volatile roller coaster that could bankrupt even the savviest trader. Disclaimer: this isn't financial advice, just a wild ride through the data. The Pokémon card market didn't just creep up, it went nuclear. From January to December 2020, average secondary market prices skyrocketed by roughly 3,000%. A card that sold for a couple bucks in early 2020, by fall it was changing hands for hundreds. You could barely scroll 10 seconds on any collector forum without tripping over price charts screaming to the sky. So what lit the fuse? A tsunami of TikTok and YouTube creators started dropping rare pull clips like they were handing out free candy. One second you're watching some kid crack open a $4 booster pack. The next, boom, there's a holographic Charizard blasting across the screen, and the comment section detonates like a fireworks factory. Those snippets funneled millions of eyeballs straight into secondary market listings, juicing the traffic, and before you knew it, the prices. Influencers weren't just chatting about cards, they were peddling pure adrenaline. Source: The Daily Economy.org. On the flip side, the supply faucet went from Niagara Falls to a leaky garden hose. Japanese plants were coughing up delays thanks to pandemic shutdowns, and the fresh Sword and Shield sets came off the presses in shrink-wrapped batches that looked like they were shrink-wrapped by a sleep-deprived intern. Collectors who suddenly couldn't crack open new packs anymore turned to the resale bazaar, outbidding each other into the stratosphere for anything that smelled like a lottery ticket. Scarcity wasn't just a rumor, it was plastered on every forum post, splashed across news headlines, and even printed on the back of cereal boxes. Source: LaTimes.com. That perfect storm landed squarely on the lap of a guy named Ethan Miller, who in March 2020 dropped $500 on a sealed Champions Path box, fingers crossed for a decent pull. When the pack finally broke open, the star catch was a first edition Charizard, the kind of card that, until that moment, was still considered nice if you're lucky. Within weeks, the TikTok rumor mill turned the pull into overnight legend, and some buyer slid Ethan an offer for $50,000 for that single card. He cashed out, pocketed a 10,000% return, and woke up the next morning as the hobby press's poster child for rags to riches in 60 seconds. Source: Suffolk. The receipts don't lie. 3,000% price spikes, billions of views on influencer videos, and production slowdowns that carved up supply by up to 30% in the back half of the year. Taken together, they flipped a basement hobby into a front-page investment circus. The data isn't hearsay, it's etched into transaction logs, buried in platform analytics, and tattooed onto the very charts that trace the climb. Source: Geek.com. So next time someone mutters Pokémon cards are just a bubble, hit M with the three pillars that held the roof up: staggering price explosions, influencer-driven chaos, and a genuine supply drought. Each pillar pushed the market higher. Together they cooked up a boom so wild it left even the old pros blinking. Ethan's $500 to $50,000 flip wasn't an outlier, it was the rule that night. It's the story that turned a casual pastime into a high-stakes poker game overnight. And then boom, the market shot into warp speed. A solitary first edition shadowless Charizard graded PSA 10 sold for $369,000 at a heritage auction back in September 2020. Not $300,000. Not $295K, $369,000. And guess what? That wasn't even the top price. That same month, a PSA 10 base set Shadowless Blastoise changed hands for $420,000. The most coveted Pokémon cards had morphed from mere collectibles into fine art. Even hedge funds began sniffing the scene. Reddit threads lit up with screenshots of eBay deals. Meanwhile, CNBC flashed a ticker: "Is this the next Beanie Baby?" Beat text popped the answer: maybe, but the kicker, who actually got stuck holding the bag when it blew up? Beat Zoom, then the cracks started showing. Beat tonal insiders began murmuring about manipulation, not merely hype, orchestrated hype. A 2020 piece in the Daily Economy combed through forum logs and uncovered coordinated by spikes that lined up with social media pushes. Premium cards could jump 30% in a single hour, only to plunge when the promoters took their profit. In the counterfeit scene, it turned nuclear. Fake PSA slabs swamped eBay, Amazon, and even neighborhood card shops. A Texas vendor got busted with thousands of counterfeit first edition Charizards churned out on homing jets. Beat Visual, the FBI even put out a PSA warning about slab fraud. That's when things got really shady. Beat Zoom, the pump and dump games weren't mere amateur hour. A leaked Discord dump uncovered by Den of Geek revealed a cadre of Discord admins operating a Diamond Club, where members shelled out monthly dues for early signals on cards they could flip. Those admins, they were shorting the cards while they pumped them up, plain old fraud. When the SEC finally got wind of it, they didn't just send a warning, they slammed the door shut. Beat text pop: big auction houses such as Heritage and Comic Connect suspended every Pokémon card sale while the probe unfolded. Beat tonal: the signal was unmistakable. This wasn't a bubble, it was a tinderbox. And then the first domino toppled. Picture the summer of 2020 when Pokémon cards leapt from a kid's hobby to a headline-making investment frenzy. That surge showed nostalgia can turn a niche hobby into a full-blown speculative bubble, catapulting prices sky-high almost overnight. Analysts observed collectors hooked by the emotional tug of childhood memories throwing cash at packs that suddenly felt like gold tickets. That pattern isn't just a Pokémon thing, it echoes earlier spikes when retro tech or vintage sneakers blew up in value. A reminder that sentiment, not fundamentals, often drives market surges. Investors get the point. Keep an eye on cultural trends as early clues, yet stay wary of hype that outpaces genuine scarcity. The 2020 boom also lit up media, from big-name outlets to niche forums, amplifying demand and creating a feedback loop that shoved prices past sustainable levels. Spotting these cycles lets you catch the next hobby-turned-investment before it peaks. So if you crave deeper dives into how hobby trends turn into high-stakes bets and how to shield your portfolio, smash that subscribe button now. Citations: source: denofgeek.com, source: the Daily Economy, org, source: latimes.com, source